It's Wednesday. You know what that means. Anthony Hartwig here in the studio with Scotty Mincher, and it is Wrestling Wednesdays with Gary Althiser. Gary, how we doing? How was the week?
I'm doing good. Got our first tournament in the books. Season's in full swing now. My team did pretty good. We only had 6 weight classes filled because I had some guys out hurt. And then I had one weight class. I had 3 guys in it because of the state alpha test. Told them they weren't allowed to go anywhere else. So we finished in 9th out of 17, I think, with just those 6 weight classes. I was pretty happy with that. We had a champion, a runner-up, and a 4th and 5th, and a whole lot of pins. So as far as my team goes, we accomplished what I thought we should have, but we do, like anybody else, we got things we needed to work on. That's what we're doing this week, getting ready for the United tournament.
We have a good show today. We're going to talk about that, the other 9 YSN schools that were there with you in Malvern, some of the results over the weekend as well. But we also have, Scotty, we have some ice hockey players coming on at 1:15 and 1:30 as well. So we're going to have a fun day on Running Point. We have Orange Ice Hockey joining us at 1:15 and 1:30. Today. So it's going to be a fun show. Gary, like I said, 9 other YSN schools were at this Malvern tournament. What were some of your biggest takeaways? I know I got the results from Jackson Milton, and they had a pretty good day there. Who else kind of really stood out to you in Malvern?
Yeah, Jackson Milton finished in 5th. I got the results sitting up here. United was 2nd. Waterloo was 3rd. Louisville 6th. Southern 7th. Liberty 8th. Wellsville 9th. Waterloo looked tough. I think they had 3 champions. Of the 14 weight classes, 9 of them were the champions were from a YSN school. Waterloo had Rex Fryer at 120, Aiden King at 138, and Justin Fox at 175. I thought they did pretty good. Jackson Milton had a really nice showing. They had a couple champions. They had Jaden Scott at 113, and they had Owen McDevitt at 126. Dallas McCracken and Jensen Baker won the 285 and 144 weight classes for United, and Ty Rambo won the 132-pound weight class for Wellsville. He finished 4-0 on the day with 4 pins, and 3 of the 4 kids he beat placed 2nd, 3rd, and 4th. So I thought he had a really nice showing as well. Malvern runs a nice tournament. They had a really great coaches room, which if you're a coach, you know, you're always looking forward to the coaches room. They fed us well. They held a nice tournament. It ran smoothly. It ran through quick. They got the thing started as soon as they could, ran us right through. And there was a lot of full brackets. So a lot of kids got a lot of matches. The full 5 matches, you're allowed to wrestle up to 5 in a day. So the closer you can get to that many matches in one day, the happier you are as a coach. But I would say that all of those teams, United, Waterloo, Jackson Milton, Southern Liberty, and us, I think we all performed pretty well. And everybody looks to be in the full swing of things right now as we head towards United's tournament, which is this Saturday.
I know Liberty was a team that people were going to watch in the preseason with the coaching change. What do you think? Was this a good start for them under a new head coach?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, they finished in 8th place. Ryan Williams is their head coach. He's a new head coach, but he's been with that program for a long time. He's familiar with those kids. He has a lot of kids on his roster, and I think he had all but 1 weight class filled. So I think he did well. You know, anytime you can get that many weight classes filled on the Division III roster, you're doing a good job. I don't think that Liberty's going to miss a beat, to be honest with you. I was talking to him in the coach's room during the tournament. He's kind of going through the same thing I am. He lost Haiti. I lost my main assistant. We were talking, it's kind of like the routines and the job roles that we knew each of the coaches had. Those are the kind of things that change and the kind of things that you have to work out during the season because you have new guys in the room with you, or you're trying to give guys that have been there different roles. So I just think maybe behind the scenes, Ryan's working some things out, but the results on the mat, he's right. They're picking up right where they left off.
You know, we've seen it. We've seen it in other sports too, where a legendary coach comes and leaves the program. And it's a really good opportunity for the school to say, we're going to have someone in-house in the program take over, because you don't have to really worry about them messing up what they've already built, right? So they already know what the standards were set, what kind of the old coach did to succeed, and they can come in with their own ideas for sure, but the foundational blocks are already there. And I think that's what makes it really good to have someone in-house replace a coach like Haiti.
Yeah, the familiarity there with the kids, and which the way he, I'm assuming he runs the program probably close to what Haiti had things in order. So I'm sure that Liberty Board of Education had no problem taking that recommendation and giving him the vote of confidence there. So, like you said, it's easier to do it with somebody who's already familiar with the kids and who is already familiar with the community and well liked. Those guys have always done a well job there. So I think that they'll be just fine moving forward.
Speaking of Haiti, we were supposed to see Boardman in action tonight against Uniontown Lake. That match has been canceled tonight due to illness, which brings up this point. I know wrestling is a really close quarter sport, and we're seeing a lot of sickness pop up in this beginning of the winter sports. We've seen a lot of basketball games being canceled. I mean, as a wrestling coach in a sport that's even more close knit and close contact than basketball, does that kind of worry you that we're starting to see a little bit of a spike in even basketball cancellations?
Yeah, I mean, it's always a worry, especially in the post-COVID world that we live in. Last year, we were supposed to go to this Malvern tournament, and somebody within the staff and kids got COVID, so we had to shut things down for 2 weeks. These things pop up. There's nothing you can really do about it. I know there's also some kind of flu bug that has been going around in the area that's really hit some teams hard. It hit us a little bit at the beginning of the season, but we seem to come out of it okay. You always have to take that chance when you're in a sport like wrestling where it's 100% contact, not just full contact, but 100% contact, that is going to happen, and it could spread well. But I feel like wrestling, of all the sports, did an amazing job with COVID, as the actual COVID year, that 2020-21 year, of keeping teams separated. There were only a handful of tournaments. It was a lot of duels, whereas one kid wrestled another kid. You weren't shaking hands with the other team or the other coaches. And I feel like it did a better job than the team sports, because you could keep it one kid in contact with one other kid, and that was it, where it wasn't, basically all five guys coming into contact with all five guys on the basketball court, or 11 and on the football field, things like that. But if you get something inside of your wrestling room, it could spread fast.
I read a few days ago, I read that dating back to the year 2017, so recently, within the last 5 years, Ohio Ohio ranked number one as far as states with the most ranked wrestlers, with PA close behind. I think they edged out PA by one. I think Ohio had 32, PA had 31. But what do you think in your mind puts, do you think Ohio is, would you say that in your mind they're still the best state for high school wrestling talent, and even Pennsylvania not far behind? Do you think they're still the cream of the crop? And is there one thing that kind of gives them the edge, or is it more layered? Is there more to it than just one thing?
Well, yeah. So I would say Pennsylvania is the best state in the country for high school wrestling. I'm surprised that Ohio was ahead. I'm wondering if that is a college All-Americans, or if that's like nationally ranked guys. I'm just wondering where that list is that you got. But it's pretty well known in the wrestling community that Pennsylvania is number one. They have a tradition there where in the wintertime, you get a lot of kids that wrestle. And you think about the state of Pennsylvania, they have on the East Coast, they have Philadelphia. On the West Coast, the western end of the state, they have Pittsburgh. And in between, there's just a lot of space, a lot of small towns, a lot of country area. So, a lot of those kids don't have basketball hoops, in their small town, because their houses are separated by some space. So they're in the wrestling room. I think that Ohio mirrors that in a lot of ways. And Pennsylvania is known for their mat wrestling, which means when you're on the mat, you can really score a lot of points. It's really the best way to become a great wrestler, is to be good on the mat. And that's what Pennsylvania is known for. I would say Ohio is probably better on their feet than they are on the mat. But I would say Pennsylvania is number one, and in my mind, Ohio number two. New Jersey, Illinois, probably New York, California are all in the mix as well, near the top. But I would say Pennsylvania, Ohio, New Jersey, Illinois would be your top four, and there would be some argument on where second, third, and fourth is. But in my mind, it's Ohio number 2, Pennsylvania number 1. And like you said, it's layered. It's a difficult thing to answer. Who knows why? I mean, Pennsylvania and Ohio are 2 of the most populated states in the country. They're both in the top 10 in population. So you mean that plays into it as well. But if you live in Mississippi, you're probably outside playing a sport a lot more in the wintertime than you would be in Ohio or Pennsylvania. So the weather absolutely has something to do with it as well.
Do you think there's any correlation between like the rural, like you brought up, like Pennsylvania has Pittsburgh, Philadelphia, but then a lot of small rural towns in between. Do you think the more rural states also might have bigger wrestling numbers, like the Iowas, Nebraskas, the Kansases, Oklahomas, countries, states like that?
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, Iowa is another one. Iowa's known for wrestling basically because of Dan Gable. Dan Gable, he's an Olympic gold medalist. He went 99-1 in his college career. He really put the sport on a national watch, and really the interest in the sport in Iowa just took off after him. He was the head coach at Iowa University for I don't know how many 20-something years. They won I don't know how many national championships, a ridiculous amount. And to this day, that Iowa Hawkeyes program is still number 1. They're number 2 now to Penn State. Penn State is has the most ridiculous college program. I don't know how any sport for any college team could compare to the last 10 years or so. Cale Sanderson's been the head coach at Penn State, and he went to Iowa State in college and coached there for a couple of years. He went to Penn State, and I would say the reason would be because he is right in the heart of the best wrestling in the country. His recruiting is absolutely ridiculous, and his kids, when they are on the mat, they overachieve. They not only achieve to their potential, but they overachieve, and that is a very hard thing to do with blue chip kid after blue chip kid, number 1 kid in the country. Their only way for them to go is down, and I swear he gets more out of wrestlers than I've ever seen any coach anywhere at any level.
Reminiscent of maybe what UCLA had in the 70s with basketball, where it was just just a different level. You couldn't beat them. They won 6 straight championships at UCLA with Coach Wooden. Before we let you go though,
he just and it's like every kid wants to wrestle for him, right, too. They're lining up. It's almost become, I mean, there was a time where you would see a kid transfer, and it's like, man, Penn State's getting another kid like this caliber. Like, there's only 10 spots. Like, what are these guys doing? But they all want to be in that room. They all want to be around him. And he was an undefeated wrestler. I think he was 142-0 in his college career with 4 national championships. He was hardly ever scored on. I think his closest match was like 3 points. And for as amazing as a college wrestler he was, I think he's a better coach than he was a wrestler.
All right, Gary, before we let you go, we have to preview the week ahead for wrestling. I know you said there's a big tournament in United. What else is going on this weekend? What should you wrestling fans look forward to in the coming week?
So we know Canfield and South Range both won the state championships in football. It looks like Canfield will be at the Lakewood Classic, and South Range will be at the Riverside Rumble. Austintown, Fitch, Howland, and Boardman have a quad set up this Saturday, and Louisville will be at the Ironman. We talked about the Ironman a lot last season. It's the hardest high school wrestling tournament in the country. That's held at Cuyahoga Falls Walsh Jesuit High School. You'll see future NCAA champions most likely wrestling in there this weekend. So I'm not sure. They didn't give the brackets yet of who's wrestling for each team, but I know Louisville will be there. And as for this United tournament, East Palestine, Salem United, Western Reserve, Brookfield, Beaver Local, South Range, Waterloo, Howland, and Wellsville will all be sending kids to this United tournament. So if you're a fan of the YSN schools, that'd be one to check out.
All right, Gary, thank you so much for taking the time this week. We love having you. You bring so much knowledge to our show. We appreciate you. We can't wait to recap all that you just talked about next week with you for another episode of Wrestling Wednesdays next week from 1 to 2.
Thanks, guys.